within the scope of this whole conversation of Thunderbolts, Marvel, and all of that, I kind of want to shift into some comments made by Jeff Snyder in his newsletter last night. Okay? So Snyder's been talking, because I think right now everybody's really talking about like Thunderbolts and Marvel and like, oh no, like what's going on? Is it over? Is it not over? What's the deal? Well, yesterday, Jeff Snyder put out a newsletter, and he talked about a lot of things in it. He talked about the Thunderbolts movie, and he talked about some things he heard about Kevin Feige. Here's one of the things that was said yesterday. Vision is reportedly set to be the final Marvel TV series to feature major characters from the films. And if you read Jeff's newsletter about this, what he's saying is there will be moments in the shows where some of the big characters and the big events are referenced, kind of like how Spider-Man was sort of referenced in the Daredevil show. But Marvel is no longer taking movie characters or big characters. He uses the word major. Dude, Vision ain't major at all, but whatever. This will be the last time that they're doing big characters in the shows. Okay? Now, I want to explain why they're doing this and kind of translate for you what I think is going on here. They're basically giving up on the Disney Plus shows. And you might not agree, and technically there will be more shows, but just hear me out on this. The original intention for Disney Plus was to use the streaming shows as an important part of the storytelling for the overall universe. Look at the characters they made shows about. WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then Loki. Then, what did they do? Hawkeye next or Miss Marvel? I think it was Miss Marvel. Because, I mean, think about how... Guys, do you know how much Kevin Feige wants Miss Marvel every goddamn where? He killed her in the comics just to make an event where she comes back in the X-Men. He literally had Iman write Miss Marvel comics. And Miss Marvel is in the Marvel. She's going to be in Champions. Like, dude, come on. So think about that. Just think about what I'm saying here. You loved Loki? Yeah, I love Loki. That's an irrelevant point, Immortus. And this is why I don't look at chat. Or I shouldn't. Literally, ever. But I will look when we get into Q&A. So I can address your misrepresentation of my points later on. The point is, this is what they're doing. They used to think they could use the streaming service to actually use stories to continue to tell the entire story of the MCU with really important characters. Every character that showed up in the first year of Disney Plus shows is going to be in Avengers Doomsday. Most of them are going to have a really important role in Avengers Doomsday. So think about it. Just think about what that was. Kevin was like, we're going to pop off in these fucking movies. And you know what else? We're going to pop off in these shows. We're doing a WandaVision show. 2 Avengers, the first show. Oh, 2 more Avengers. Show number 2, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Another, well, not really Avenger, but he's going to become Avenger Prime, and that's going to be crazy. And the next villain of the entire fucking phase, that's in our next Disney Plus show. So they've gone from that to... we are not going to do major characters in the show at all. And what Jeff says in his article is he expects more shows like Wonder Man. And maybe you'd get 1 or 2 shows a year. So what that also means is that Marvel's plan going forward is to not use the streaming shows to set up and tell their big important parts of the story. This has to do with the homework idea. That's a part of his thinking too, I'm sure. And so the main characters, the big story will be told in the movies. So we're basically, without really admitting it, we are giving up on Disney Plus as a way to actually expand the MCU. Now it feels like these shows will literally just be smaller, less necessary things with maybe potentially cool characters and maybe potentially cool takes, but they will not include big characters. They're not really important. they're not going to push the overall narrative. They're going to perhaps reference the narrative, reference the big characters, but that's what it is. Now, I will be real with you. There's a part of me that doesn't like this because, throughout the last couple of years with Disney Plus shows, one of the arguments I've had is like, well, dude, if you really wanted to go for it, you would do bigger characters, or you would do a show like Nomad with Chris Evans putting all of the stones back, right? Because that is a show that's so big, such a appointment television draw, that I think it could compete with all the big shows out there. Any big show right now, any of the new shows on streaming that have popped off, I think a Nomad show with Chris Evans would 100% compete with those shows. But what you see in the thinking here from Feige is it is not worth doing that because it comes at the cost of the theatrical experience and the overall narrative, which he's basically admitting was a large part of the draw to go out and see these movies. So this is actually a super big recalibration. And I wonder if even Jeff understands how big this actually is. Because if this is real, this indicates a complete 180 of their thinking about Disney Plus shows versus the movies. Okay, so that's like one part of this whole story here. And going back to like Ironheart and stuff, like, to be honest with you, I think, it really depends on what the other shows are. I don't want to be so preemptive that I'm like, well, I guess I never have to watch a Disney Plus Marvel show ever again. I don't want to necessarily say that, because you could find a cool angle with a weird character that might potentially have some draw for me or something, right? But it kind of seems like this does end the idea of big Marvel Disney Plus shows, which frankly, maybe it never should have happened. Maybe that fatigue is so bad. You know what I mean? So that's kind of interesting. Now, there's another element here. There's another part of this. The other part is that the new Avengers and the Fantastic Four will reportedly appear in multiple upcoming MCU films. Now, what does that mean? That means, obviously, Doomsday. That means potentially Spider-Man 4, which we have talked about Spider-Man 4. Crazy rumors about Spider-Man 4. I want to chime in on that. It means potentially Secret Wars, but really the more important conversation, and you can see also within Jeff's article, he's talking a lot about X-Men. This probably means X-Men. It means going into the next X-Men mutant saga that these characters, the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts, will be in, or I guess New Avengers, will be in multiple upcoming MCU movies. Now, think about this. Does this then explain a little bit more of why Marvel is still hanging their hat on Thunderbolts? Meaning, Bob Iger literally talked earlier today in the investor call. He literally said today that Thunderbolts is a representation of the new vision of Marvel. And it's New Avengers marketing, and it's so they're really hanging their hat on this movie. And look, ironically, as much as I'm trying to be fair here, but this isn't going well for them. I will say that if you were ever going to just take a stand and say, no, these are our characters moving forward, we have to use these actors, these characters, so that this actually feels organic and connected, you have chosen wisely. Even though the success is not apparent right now, I fully believe that this is a good idea, that these are the right characters. I love the Thunderbolts movie, by the way. I don't know if I've said that enough. I think I tend to focus on the analytical things, the problems, and so some people get an impression that I don't like the movie. I love the movie. I love these characters, and I wish these characters had been the bet earlier on in Phase 4. Things might be different. Fantastic Four also being a part of this, that's really interesting. And so you can see how there is a sort of structure to all of this where it is sort of about building in the value of Thunderbolts, which is still in theaters right now, and also Fantastic Four, which is the next one. And you really want people to basically say, oh shit, like these are our guys. Like this is our thing for the next few years. So let's check it out. I would also say, and I'm not trying to be rude here, but these are also way more affordable actors. I'm going to be honest with you. That's probably a part of the calculus too, because the Fantastic Four in particular, we know there were other people in the conversation that wanted more money. And I think part of the calculus for Disney was like, we need kind of affordable Fantastic Four family because we want them to be around for a long, long time. Right? So again, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm happy about this situation, but like, let's just be honest. Like that's what it is. Kevin is thinking about his next thing. They're about to spend all the money they have on these next two Avengers movies, and they paid RDJ $100 million. He's going to play like 4 characters, so they're going to get their fucking money out of that. But after all of that's done and the multiverse goes away, you can't have the OG Avengers playing multiple characters. That won't fly. It could save your ass, and I think it actually will. Like, I actually do think that's going to work, you know? Here's the thing, though. It's about what happens after that. It really is about the X-Men. And from what we've seen with the rumors of the X-Men, they're going after younger, less developed actors. More affordable, might I say. Because remember, when Hemsworth was like making the movies before Avengers and before everything blew up, he was making like $100,000 a movie, maybe $200,000 a movie. Like he was making nothing, dude, comparative to Downey and some of these other. So like Marvel is trying to set up the future. And unfortunately, this is just a part of the business. Like, can we afford motherfuckers to be in movies for 5-6 years? You know what I mean? That's just a part of the business. Now, something else that was interesting in Jeff's article. So there's a story out there about Hawkeye season 2. And by the way, Jeremy Renner, I hope this message makes it to Jeremy Renner because you have the opportunity to do the funniest thing ever here. So story out there right now that Jeremy Renner was offered half the money for season 2 as he was for season 1 of Hawkeye. Okay. And that's obviously crazy. Nobody thinks that's good. And he even talked about it on a podcast recently. He said that he declined it. Now, he is in the Avengers movies, and I'm assuming he got paid proper for that. But according to Jeff, this was done intentionally. Disney lowballed him intentionally because they wanted him to say no so that they could follow through on their plan to no longer have big, important characters in their Disney Plus shows. Now, some people think they're going to just do the show with Kate Bishop without him. I actually don't think so. I don't think they're doing Hawkeye at all. I think they want a new slate, a new idea. I think they want new, lesser-known characters for Disney Plus shows. I think that's what's happening. And Jeff's reporting makes sense within that context, right? So, look, we're currently, we're in this discussion, and I think maybe I have it pulled up here. Yeah. So we're in this discussion right now, after Thunderbolts, going into weekend 2, trying to figure out what the deal is with that. Marvel's shuffling things around. They're really planning for the future. And, they have these big Avengers movies. We talked about the Wall Street Journal. By the way, dropped that big video yesterday, like 20-minute video explaining the fall off of Marvel. I think it's a really good video, very informative. You should go check it out on the main channel. But within this entire context, right, we had Bob Iger, which, by the way, Disney stock today, at least the last time I saw, is soaring. So Disney had an investor call today. They're up over 10%, at least they were. And that has to do with a couple of things. There's a new park going into Dubai. But Bob Iger also came out and said that the film slate that they have in the next 18 months is maybe the strongest it had been since 2019. And 2019 was when Disney had $9 billion grossing films in a one-year period. And some of the films he's talking about are the next two Avengers movies. It is Spider-Man. It's things like Lilo and Stitch, Avatar. There's some other bangers in there as well. But Marvel shifting and going into really big IP, Star Wars finally doing movies. They've got a pretty solid film slate for the next 18 months. And so they have these plans. And so, look, to wrap this all up, just to kind of give you where I'm at with all of this, I still think it's fair to point out that the performance of Thunderbolts is obviously an indication of how bad things had gotten for Marvel and where the damage level is at. And I think that's fair. And it might lose money still to this day. It might be considered a flop. Like a lot of what I talked about on Monday is still technically valid. But they're hanging their hat on the quality of the film. And they know how bad it is. They have a plan to get out of it. And I do think they have good ideas. I actually, even though I don't love this whole, like, basically we're done with Disney Plus shows, like, I actually think that will work because it'll get to a point where we miss the movies a little bit more, where we really, like, because you just need to recreate what was going on before, which was when the movie came out, it was an experience. You went to go see the next chapter in the Marvel story, and you went to go see how that universe was developing, what new characters were going to show up, all that sort of stuff. They need to recreate that. And I do think the Disney Plus constant churn of just content, character, content, like that really did hurt them. So I think that's a good change. It will work. I think the Avengers movies are going to go hard. They're going to be spectacle. They're going to bring a lot of people back to Marvel. It's really all about how does the X-Men saga pop off. And if the X-Men saga is Fantastic Four characters and the new Avengers, which is like Thunderbolts and Sam's team, and they're in a lot of the movies, but they're X-Men movies, because I think it's going to I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's going to be X-Men movies that have the new Avengers. We might be all the way back. Like, that actually could work. And within, because it'll kind of feel like this. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. The rest of the year is going to be sloppy. These projects, these Disney Plus shows, not great. Unless some of them are surprises. You'll have to let me know. I'm not going to watch them. San Diego Comic-Con and Fantastic Four, that's where the juice lies. And I think that movie's going to be incredible. And I think the promo is going to be incredible. And then throughout the year, we'll sort of live and breathe off of Doomsday. The promotion for that, the coming trailer, all of that sort of stuff, okay? And I think there'll be a lot of excitement going into Doomsday. And from there, they have to hold that excitement. They have bangers. Daredevil Season 2 looks legit. Charlie Cox is out there talking shit on the courtroom episode. I'd love to hear it. I just think there's a lot of signs that there are things turning around. Good things are happening. And we have a banger of a slate next year. Spidey 4 needs to be solid. I think it will be. Secret Wars needs to be solid. And then it's like we live and breathe by that first X-Men movie. So despite everything, like, look, Jeff he put this into his newsletter. He said, if I were a betting man, I would bet on Marvel Studios to be fine, to make it out of this. And frankly, I agree. You know, I'm not going to sugarcoat how rough things are. But if you're just honestly asking me, like, if this is the terrain and this is the plan, are you optimistic? Yes, I would literally say yes, I am. It might be a year. You know, it might be 6 months. Like, I don't know. It might feel like it happened really fast, but it almost feels like this next year is going to be kind of what it's been for the past couple of years. Like, we're so back, it's so over. We're so back, it's so over. We need to get off of that roller coaster ride. And I think that could happen starting with Doomsday. So that's the report on all of that, ladies and gentlemen. Probably a longer segment there, but important nonetheless. We'll get into Q&A about it. I'm sure you have some thoughts. Thanks for watching. And if you like this clip, smash a like on the actual video and subscribe to this channel. That way more of these clips get into your feed. I've also linked the full episode below if you want to check out the entire thing, including the Q&A we do with fans. You can also watch this show live. We do it live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can also find all of my content, including the videos I put on my main YouTube channel, on the podcast feed.